Okay, here's your review video for tonight. Remember, if you need help with any specific skill, either come see me in tutoring during the morning, or you may want to go back and rewatch one of those videos for the week. All right, similarly on question 2, when in doubt, expand it out. So 3u's, 3, I've got 3u's here, and 4 v's. It's a little hard to tell the difference between those, so our numbers are gonna go together. Remember, this is multiplication, so 2 times 3 is gonna give me 6. When I go through and count my u's, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that's going to be u to the 6th, and 4 v's, so v to the 4th. All right, division works the same way, in that we need to expand if we aren't sure what to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and write out all my variables. And you should notice that the ends, I got some ends that cancel. Now the biggest thing is, if you start with a fraction, remember, if the information's on the bottom, you're still going to have a fraction. So I'm left with 3mn on the bottom. And the top of my fraction, I need something, so I'm going to put a 1 up there, because that's the only thing that won't change the value of my fraction. So make sure that when you write this, you write 1 over 3mn. If you just write 3mn, you're going to get this question wrong, because that's not the same thing. So make sure if it's on the bottom, that in the answer you have noted that it's also on the bottom. Okay, again, we're going to expand out. 3 times x times y, 3 times x. All right, 4 y's this time. The 3's cancel, x's cancel, y's cancel. Again, my y is left on the bottom, so I've got y squared on the bottom, and I need to put something on the top of the fraction, so I'm going to put a 1 so that I don't change the value. On question 5, it's a little bit different. The first thing that you should notice is you've got parentheses to the 2nd power. That means I need to write out 2 sets of parentheses. And inside of each of those, I've got 4 times x times y times y, 4 x to the 2nd, y to the 2nd. So remember, the parentheses is what happens twice, and then you're just back to a normal problem. And group my numbers together. 4 times 4 is 16. Group my variables. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 x's, so that's x to the 4th. And then again, group my y variables. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's y to the 4th. Okay, so on this question, remember, we rewrote the problem. Just like question 5, we have to think about parentheses to the 4th power. That means I've got 4 sets of parentheses. And inside each parenthesis, I have 3y squared. 3y squared. Some of you are going to see how to do these without, like, you're not going to need to write all this out, but I'm showing you the easiest way, even though it takes the most amount of room. So now we're going to do, remember, all of this is multiplication. So that's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And if you think about that for a minute, the easiest way to do, well, you got a calculator. So if you work that out, you're going to get all of that equals 81. And then I have, if I go back and count my y's, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is going to give me y to the 8th. Question 7. Now normally we would want to expand it out, and we may still need to do that, but you may notice this negative exponent here. Now two things. The 3 and the x to the negative third are two separate pieces. Alright, they're not connected to each other. So my x to the negative third, negative exponents make reciprocals. So if this is going to be a reciprocal, it means it's going to have to flip with wherever it is. So since it's on the bottom, it's going to need to flip to the top. Which means when I rewrite this, I now have 4y to the third, x to the third. It's going to become positive when it flips, with a 3 left on the bottom. And if you look at that problem, there's not anything there to simplify. The 4 and the 3 can't divide in any way, and you can't combine y's and x's or cancel anything, so that's my problem, or my answer rather. Alright, we want to start question 8 the same way. So we're going to notice that we've got a negative exponent here. It's going to need to be a reciprocal. So I'm going to rewrite what I have first. 2y to the third over 2x, y to the third, another x to the 1. And this first x that you see here is also to the 1 power. So now I'm going to expand out. 2 times y times y times y over 2 times x times y times y times y times x. Alright, so some things that cancel. I've got 2's. All my y's cancel. And just like with some of our previous problems, x to the second power is left on the bottom. And since I need a numerator, I'm going to put a 1 on the top. Question 9, we're just back to when in doubt, expand it out. Remember, if you see shortcuts or know a simpler way to do this problem, feel free to do that. Alright, 2 times 4 is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. X to the 5th. Alright, and then my y's, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 y's, y also to the 5th. Alright, something that should stand out to you is this piece right here that's to the 0 power. That whole piece equals 1. So my problem really now reads 2m n to the negative 3 times 1. And we know anything times 1 is just itself. So really this is just 2m n to the negative 3. Now the directions said I needed positive exponents, which means I have to deal with this negative exponent. Negative exponents make reciprocals, which means this needs to flip. Okay, so this is now going to become 2m over n to the third power. Alright, my directions for questions 11 and 12 are to write each expression in radical form. The bottom number is the root. You all are pretty good at remembering this. The top number is the power. So this matches. This is to say you've taken the cube root of 5a to the 5th power. Now that 5th power, you either need to put parentheses here to say because 5a is already in parentheses, or you need to write that 5th power on the outside. You could be safe and do both. If you simplified this further, which you don't have to, but if you did simplify this further, you should have 5a cube root 5a squared, or 25a squared on the inside. This is not necessary. That's the final answer that you need. Alright, this question, again, the bottom is the root, so that means I've got square root 7p. Since it's in parentheses, keep them there, to the 3rd power. Again, if you simplify, that's the final answer that we need on this one. It'll be very obvious tomorrow. These will be multiple choice, so you should be able to select and know when to keep going. If you did simplify this, you should have had 7p, the square root of 7p. That's the same thing, just so you can check your work. Alright, 13 and 14, write each expression in exponential form. All that means is we're going to go back and write an exponent. So this is 3r. The top is the power, the bottom is the root. Done. Again, 7x, the top is the power, The bottom is the root. Remember, if there's no number here, there's secretly a 2. So that bottom number is 2. Be really careful about that. I think that's where you're going to get tricked, if anywhere. All right, question 15 says, rewrite the expression as a radical and then simplify. So if I rewrite as a radical, that means I'm going to do root, square root, 81 n squared to the power, to the third. Now I will say, if it were me, I would do the square root first to simplify that. So break down 81. If we do that, if I break down 81 n squared, I get 3 times n, ooh, forgot a few, times n. And it's squared, so I'm making pairs, which means all of that is going to give me 9n. All right, that's if when I do the square root. So really this means I've got 9n to the third power, which means 9 times 9 times 9 times n to the third. And if you use a calculator, you should get, I think, 729 n to the third. All right, we're going to rewrite it first. Root on the bottom, square root of 9m to the fourth, power on the top to the 1. Now remember, anything to the 1 power is just itself, so that's kind of not 100% necessary to write. And now square root just means we need to break down. So we're going to break 9 down, 3 and 3. So this is to say the square root of 3 times 4m's, 2, 3, 4. And square root means I need groups of 2. So that's going to give me 3 times m, or 3m squared. Okay, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to, you would break this down. I'm not going to do the tree on here. So this is the same as square root of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times a. Secretly, remember square roots are 2's, so we've got to make groups of 2. That means I'm going to pull out whole numbers. 3 whole number 2's, an a, and a square root of 3 is left over. And when I put all of that back together, that's going to give me 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, so 8a square root 3. Some of you are even really good about writing the little 2 in here. Just make sure it looks like it's in the corner and not part of the a. All right, this time, whenever you break down, so you need to do that part on your own. All right, we've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Holy cow, there's a lot of 2's going on here. Oh, I wrote one too many. All right, so, and then we've got 3 x's and 3 y's. And now it says I need groups of 4. So the only group of 4 I can make is that 2 right there. So that 2 comes out as a whole number. And then everything I have left inside, I'm just going to simplify. So 2 times 2 on the inside is 4. X to the third, y to the third. And you do have to keep this 4 in the corner. Don't forget to rewrite that little 4 in the corner, or you're going to change what the answer is. All right, we're almost there. This time we're breaking down the cube root. And if we break down 40, we get 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. All right, I'm going to write, I have 6 x's here. 5, 6. 8 y's, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and I need groups of 3. So I'm going to find my groups of 3. I got a 2, x, another x, a y, another y. That's going to give me 2, an x and x, ooh, a y and a y. And then left inside of the square root is a 5 and 2 y's. And when I put all that back together to simplify and write my final answer, I'm going to get 2 times x times y, that's 2x squared y squared. and on the inside 5y squared. All right, this question is a little bit different because I've already got a number on the outside, so I'm going to leave that number out there, and then I'm going to break down my 108 as if I didn't know anything about that number, which is going to give me 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times x times y. And then square root, because there's no numbers, so we're looking for groups of 2. All right, so the 6 is still out there, but I'm also going to bring out a 2, a 3, and an x. And then I'm going to be left with the cube root of 3y on the inside. Now I can go back and multiply these together. So I've got 6 times 2 is 12, times 3 is 36, x, cube root of 3 to the y. Ah, cube root, I don't know where I got that. Square root, I can't read my own handwriting. Square root. Alright, on this problem, geometric is a pattern of multiplication or division. So we want to find the pattern. You should notice here that the pattern is times 2. And we want to find the next 3 numbers. And when you continue that pattern, so you just multiply by 2 again and again, you should get 48, 96, and 192. On this question, there is no pattern of multiplication that gets me from 4 to 7, and 7 to 12, and 12 to 19. So this one is not geometric. All right, my pattern here, you may notice that we're multiplying by 3, but also because the signs are alternating, negative, positive, this is multiplication by negative 3. So when I do my next 3 terms, my signs should keep switching. I've got negative 243, 729, and then negative 2,187. Remember, you can use a calculator to divide 2 of these numbers, and that will help you figure out what your pattern is if you don't notice it right away. Okay, this problem we're getting smaller. My signs are still switching, but since I'm getting smaller, we could say division by negative 5, or the better answer, and you need to know this, is multiplication by a fraction, so negative 1 over 5. Or you could say times 1 over negative 5. That's the better answer for that part. And so then when I find my next 3 terms, using my calculator, I get negative 5, 1, and negative 1/5. All right, almost there. This one says this means the second term. So if I write out my numbers for 5, 6, 7, 8, my second term is negative 8. And since it's geometric, this means I'm multiplying by 2. So if I continue my pattern, multiply by 2, that's going to give me negative 16, negative 32, negative 64, negative 128, negative 256, and then my 8th term, when I continue, is negative 512. All right, that's the number that's going to go here. So that's your answer there, 512. All right, last one. Again, they give me the 3rd term, so it helps me just to draw out blanks so I can see what I'm looking at. All right, so my 3rd term, so this should go in the 3rd spot, is 4. And this time my pattern is 1/2. Since it's geometric, that means I'm dividing by 2 because it's a fraction. So if I divide by 2, that gives me 2, and then 1, 1/2, 1/4, and 1/8. So my 8th term is 1/8. Or if you're using a calculator, you may have gotten, I think it's 0.125.